You clicked this for a reason, and that reason matters. Something in you already knows that the way most people handle money quietly costs them everything. Not all at once, not dramatically, just slowly, year after year, decision after decision, until one day they look up and realize the finish line they imagined is nowhere in sight. Here's the truth that almost nobody talks about. Most people will work for 40 or 50 years. They will earn hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Some will earn millions. And when it is all said and done, the vast majority of them will retire with far less than $1 million saved. Not because they were lazy, not because they did not care, but because nobody ever clearly showed them what it actually takes to get there. So right now, this is exactly where you need to be. The number 1 million carries a weight that is hard to explain. It feels like freedom, like safety, like finally being able to stop worrying. And yet research consistently shows that fewer than 1 in 10 Americans retire with $1 million or more in savings. Think about that for a moment. Out of every 10 people you know who are working toward retirement, only one of them statistically crosses that line. The other 9 fall short, some by a little, some by a lot. The question this raises is a quiet one. Where do you stand right now? Most people never ask that question honestly. They assume they are probably on track. They tell themselves they will figure it out later. They believe that tomorrow there will be more time, more income, more clarity. But the research on retirement savings tells a very different story. Studies indicate that the median retirement savings for Americans approaching retirement age hovers somewhere around $100,000 to $200,000. That gap between where most people land and where 1 million sits is not just a number. It's decades of compounding opportunity that simply never happened. This is where the story gets interesting, because the difference between people who cross the $1 million mark and people who do not is rarely income, it's rarely luck, and it is almost never one big decision. It is almost always a collection of small, consistent, quiet behaviors that compound over time into something enormous. Let's start with the most important thing most people get wrong. Time. Compound interest is one of the most studied and most underestimated forces in personal finance. The basic idea is simple. When your money earns a return, and then that return earns a return on top of itself, the growth eventually becomes almost self-sustaining. But there's a catch. This only works powerfully if you start early enough and stay consistent long enough. Research in behavioral finance suggests that most people dramatically underestimate how much starting just 5 or 10 years earlier can change the final outcome. Here is a way to picture it. Someone who begins investing at 25, putting away a consistent amount each month into a diversified low-cost index fund, can arrive at $1 million with far less total money contributed than someone who starts at 35 or 40. The later starter has to put in significantly more of their own money to reach the same destination because they had fewer years of compounding working in their favor. Time is the one resource in wealth building that you cannot buy back. Once it is gone, it is gone. This is why financial planners often describe the early years of investing not as the most exciting, but as the most important. Nothing dramatic happens at the beginning. The numbers feel small, the progress feels invisible, but under the surface, the foundation is being built. Now, here is something that often surprises people. The $1 million milestone is not just about how much you earn, it is deeply connected to the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Behavioral economists call this the savings rate, and studies suggest it is one of the strongest predictors of long-term wealth accumulation. Two people can earn the same salary and arrive at completely different financial destinations depending on what percentage of their income they actually keep and invest. A person earning $70,000 a year who saves and invests 20% of their income will, over a long enough time horizon, likely outperform a person earning $120,000 a year who saves only 5%. The math is uncomfortable but consistent. High income does not guarantee wealth. Controlled spending paired with disciplined saving does. This brings up something that behavioral science has explored deeply: the psychology of spending. Research in this area suggests that human beings are not naturally wired to prioritize future reward over present comfort. We feel the satisfaction of a purchase immediately. We feel the benefit of investing only decades later. This mismatch between immediate and delayed reward is one of the primary reasons the savings gap exists, not just between rich and poor, but between people at almost every income level. Financial psychologists refer to this as present bias. It is the tendency to overvalue what we can have now and undervalue what we could have much later. The person who understands this bias and designs their financial life to work around it has a significant advantage. Automating savings, setting up automatic investment contributions, and reducing the number of spending decisions that require willpower in the moment are all strategies that research suggests help counteract this natural human tendency. Let us talk about what actually goes into a $1 million retirement account. Because the math is not magic, it's consistent, boring, and available to more people than realize it. If you're in your 20s and you invest around $500 a month into a diversified index fund with a historical average annual return somewhere in the range of 7 to 8% adjusted for inflation, many financial projections suggest you can reach $1 million within 30 to 35 years. That number shifts based on your return, your consistency, and when you start. But the core principle holds. Steady monthly contributions, compounding over decades at low cost, can reach 7 figures without any extraordinary event. No windfall, no lucky stock pick, no inheritance needed. The vehicle matters too. Tax-advantaged accounts like a 401k or an IRA allow your investments to grow without being eroded by taxes every year. This is not a small detail. Research from financial planning organizations shows that over a multi-decade period, the ability to defer taxes on investment growth can meaningfully increase the ending balance compared to investing the same amount in a fully taxable account. Using these accounts to their legal limits is one of the most straightforward and evidence-supported steps toward the $1 million mark. And yet, studies show that a significant portion of working Americans are not contributing enough to their employer-sponsored retirement plans to capture their full employer match. That match is effectively free money. Leaving it unclaimed is one of the most common and most costly financial mistakes that goes largely unnoticed because the loss is invisible and gradual. Now, let us zoom out, because reaching $1 million is not just a math problem, it is a behavior problem. And the behaviors that drive wealth accumulation are rarely glamorous. The financial habits most strongly associated with long-term wealth include paying yourself first, meaning saving before spending, rather than saving whatever is left over at the end of the month. They include living below your means consistently, not just when money is tight. They include avoiding lifestyle inflation, the tendency to increase spending every time income increases. And they include maintaining a long-term perspective during market downturns, rather than selling in fear and locking in losses. Studies in investor behavior show that the average individual investor tends to earn significantly less than the market itself returns, not because they picked bad funds, but because they made emotional decisions. They sold when markets dropped, they bought after markets surged, they moved in and out based on headlines. Long-term wealth building requires staying invested through volatility, which is psychologically harder than it sounds and financially far more important than most people realize. Here is where the picture becomes more nuanced. $1 million is a milestone, but it's not a fixed finish line. The amount you need to retire comfortably depends on your expected expenses, your lifestyle, your health, and how long you live. Financial planning research uses a concept sometimes called the 4% rule, which suggests that a retiree drawing down 4% of their portfolio annually has a historically reasonable chance of not running out of money over a 30-year retirement. Under that framework, $1 million would support roughly $40,000 of annual spending. For some people, that's enough. For others, it is not. This is why the goal is not just to reach 1 million, but to understand what that number means for your specific life and to know whether you are on track to build enough. Most people have never done that calculation. Research consistently shows that a majority of Americans report not knowing how much they actually need to retire. That uncertainty makes it almost impossible to build a plan that works. So where does this leave you right now? If you are in your 20s or early 30s, time is still your most powerful asset. Even small monthly investments made consistently can grow dramatically over the coming decades. If you are in your 40s, the window is narrower but far from closed. Increasing your savings rate, reducing unnecessary expenses, and maximizing tax-advantaged accounts can still put the $1 million mark within reach. If you are in your 50s or beyond, the urgency is real, but so are the catch-up contribution limits that the tax code allows for people over 50 in retirement accounts. The point is this: wherever you are, the most valuable thing you can do is stop assuming and start calculating. Know your current savings, estimate your future contributions, understand roughly what rate of return your investments have historically produced, and look honestly at the gap between where you are and where you need to be. Most people never do this, not because they are irresponsible, but because it is uncomfortable to look directly at a gap and not know how to close it. But the research is clear. People who engage with their financial reality, even when it is painful, make better decisions than people who avoid it. Financial clarity, even when the picture is imperfect, is always better than financial fog. There is something important to acknowledge here. Not everyone starts from the same place. Income inequality, student debt, medical costs, and economic circumstances create real and unequal obstacles for different people. The path to $1 million is genuinely harder for some than others. This is not a script about pretending those differences do not exist. It's about making sure that within your actual circumstances, you are not leaving opportunity on the table by accident, by avoidance, or by following financial habits that quietly work against you. Debt is one of those habits. High-interest debt, particularly credit card debt, functions like the opposite of compound interest. Instead of your money growing over time, your balance grows. Research suggests that carrying high-interest debt while simultaneously trying to build wealth is one of the most significant drains on long-term financial progress. Every dollar lost to interest is a dollar that never made it into an investment account. Every month of delay in paying off high-cost debt is a month where that reverse compounding works against you. The order of operations matters here. Most financial planning guidance suggests clearing high-interest debt before aggressively investing beyond employer match contributions. Once that debt is gone, redirecting those monthly payments toward investments dramatically accelerates the path forward. The math on this is consistently in favor of prioritizing high-cost debt elimination before wealth accumulation. Emergency funds matter too. People who do not have a financial cushion are far more likely to take on new debt when unexpected expenses arise, sell investments at the wrong time to cover costs, or make short-term financial decisions that damage long-term outcomes. Studies in financial resilience suggest that even a relatively modest emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses meaningfully reduces the likelihood of financial derailment during difficult periods. The broader picture here is about building a financial structure that compounds positively rather than negatively. Low-cost index funds, tax-advantaged accounts, automated savings, controlled spending, high-interest debt elimination, and a long-term outlook are not complicated ideas, but together, consistently applied over time, they represent the actual mechanism by which ordinary people reach extraordinary financial outcomes. Almost no one retires with $1 million saved, but that does not mean it is out of reach. It means most people are not building the habits, the structure, and the patience that getting there requires. The people who do cross that line are rarely the ones who earned the most. They are usually the ones who started early enough, stayed consistent long enough, and resisted the emotional decisions that quietly drain what compounding tries to build. The question you walked in here with was simple. Where do you stand? And the honest answer is that it depends on decisions you are making right now, not the decisions you made 10 years ago, not the decisions you will make at some point in the future, the ones happening today. Because wealth is not a destination you arrive at all at once. It is the result of a direction you commit to holding. And the moment you choose that direction clearly, consciously, and consistently is the moment the math finally starts working in your favor.